say that forever. He was very dramatic, and I'm not that way, so I'm not going to do that. But he was trying to prove the point that this is an all or nothing thing. You can't believe half of something and the other half you kind of toss out because it's not convenient to you or something like that. Jesus doesn't change. What he said 5,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, he meant, and it still is good today, and it's still going to be good tomorrow and forever. So he prefaced that, and I just wanted to throw that out there too, that Jesus is somebody that is here. So let's keep looking. No pun intended, but what does faith look like? Can you see it?
No.
Yeah, Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we cannot see." So obviously we can't see it, but that sounds kind of like the wind, doesn't it? Or Chris's coffee bean. You can't really see wind, but you can feel it when you're outside. You can see the effects of wind. You might see a bird soaring around in the sky, or a tree kind of waving, or a flower or something like that. A kid playing with a kite, and the kite is up in the air and being held up there by wind. Maybe a scrap of paper or something like that blowing by, or a tumbleweed. In the coffee bean situation, you might not see the caffeine in it, but you feel the effect. So you can see the effects of the wind. And I think that's a little bit like faith. We see the evidence of that. We might not see the actual thing, but we see the evidence. In Mark 9, there's a great story about faith. And Matthew tells the same story, but I like the one in Mark a little better because he adds a few extra little things in there. So we're going to take a look at Mark 9 and verses 14 to 24. And we'll read through some of that. When they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them, and the teachers of the law arguing with them. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. "What are you arguing about with them?" he asked. A man in the crowd answered, "Teacher, I brought my son, who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not." And Jesus replies, "You unbelieving generation, how long will I stay with you? How long will I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," he answered. "It has often thrown him in fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." And Jesus says, "If you can, everything is possible for one who believes." Now, as a dad, I'm thinking about this story as I read that. And I'm going to kind of insert a story into a story here. I have a son who's 30. And probably, Cindy and I were just talking about this, obviously, and probably Ryan was about 8 or 9 years old when this incident happened. He was attending Adventist church school over on El Dorado, the old church school, before the fire came and took it away. And they were playing kickball or soccer in the gym. And Ryan was just getting ready to grab the ball, and somebody kicked it. And they kicked the ball, and they kicked his finger, and they actually kicked his fingernail, and it kind of separated from his finger a little bit. So that hurts. We put a Band-Aid on it. Maybe they did it at school. I don't know. But anyway, he came home and told us the story and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's all right. Go on and play, whatever. But a few days or a week or two later, that thing became infected. It was just nasty looking. I mean, it was nasty looking. So I drew the short straw and got to take him to the doc. And I think we had a little baby at home, so Cindy was probably taking care of Emily. But anyway, we went to the doctor, and I assumed that they would probably take the fingernail off because it was nasty looking, and clean it up, give him some antibiotics, and send us all home. Well, the doc looked at it and everything, and he said, we can fix that. I'll just lift it up a little bit, we'll clean out underneath it really good, scrub all the infection out, and put it back together, and he'll be just fine. And I'm going, okay, that sounds good. And he says, we'll need to numb it up, and so we'll give him some shots in his finger, and then he'll be okay, and we'll be able to do this. And immediately, when he said that, I flashed back to a few years earlier.